Okay, so this short video we're gonna do is animate a light bulb that turns on and off, and we'll just go for simple 2D graphics. So you might need Photoshop, or if you use GIMP. So I'm not gonna do Photoshop tutorial how to draw like these simple shapes. It's just a simple outline of it, like it's just a simple solid shape of a light bulb here, and then I have some additional, like a little highlight that will go over the top and the little cap that goes at the bottom. So you could do this in Photoshop or in GIMP, or you could even just Google light bulb and maybe try to use those kind of textures. But I've just got these images already prepared. Let's jump into Ventuz. So in Ventuz, we want to bring in our textures. So I'm going to go to Axis, solid color. And I'm going to go texture, base with alpha, and then browse for that texture, which is on my desktop, the bulb, and apply a rectangle in front. There we go. Scale it up. I'll just adjust this so it does looks about right. There we go. So this is my light bulb. So this is what I've prepared in Photoshop, these textures. And I'm going to duplicate this. So we have two, and this will be, so let's say this is our off state, and this will be our on state. And you also need, for this video, if you want to follow along, you might need to create a texture that we did in previous video, the battery, the liquid texture, which is a simple, like a kind of a wavy texture. You'll see me use that in here. So I'll put a link to that video. Then you can see how that texture was made in Photoshop. Alright, so we've got off, on, and we need the highlight. So let's call this highlight or high, and just keep it short. So we know that's our highlight, and then I'll just load that texture in. I'll put in highlight. There you go. There's the highlight. If I give it another color for now, so I can position the Z, because this is going to be in front. So I'll position it nice in front. This, and I'll position it where it's supposed to go and scale it so it looks right, kind of. I'm just doing it by eye. There you go. Doesn't need to be perfect. There you go. For now, that'll do. I'll duplicate this again and call this cap. Load the cap texture in, and you can just type in cap, and bam, should find that, and bring that down, and of course scale it. So it just looks right. Yeah. So you can see we've got this kind of light bulb. It's not perfect, but hey, it's just the starting. Okay, so we'll just put an axis. All these are grouped under one, so we can move this around. Nice and easy. Okay, let's change that highlight back to white now, so because it's in its place. So on the off state, I want this to be blue. So this will always be on screen. So this is always at the back. Then I want to move this in front, so in the Z, so they don't clash, because right now they're all sharing the same Z space. These two anyway. This is below, so it's not really clashing with it, so it's not a big issue. So let's move the on in front by a point. So like this, minus 0.0, and then let's change the color. There we go. You can go for like a nice yellowy orange. Also change the color of this cap to like a grey. There we go. Maybe darker. That'll do anyway. You can put more details in Photoshop if you want to add some lines, some texture or something, you know, make it a bit more interesting. It's kind of flat right now. Anyways, let's go to our on, and what we want to do is load in another texture basis for alpha. And this one, if you go to project, if I go to my project, from my last video where I had this liquid texture, you see this texture here. Like I said, I'll put the link below to the video, and you can see this is the texture we created, and we want to animate this to grow. So as we turn the light bulb on, it fills the light. Very similar to the battery. It's just a different graphic, different animation, but exactly same principles, but just with different textures. So if you watch that, then you understand this one. Okay. So let's turn on the simple wrap. Change some of those properties on here. So we want to wrap on the U and clamp the V. And now we can animate along the X like this, and we can animate on the position on the Y, so it fills up. So the light bulb's been turned on. It's just a nice little animation. So let's keyframe this. Start keyframing this and make it a little bit more, you know, give it some life. So what you can do is just zoom in a little bit, add a keyframe. So keyframe, I hit spacebar, keyframe animation. So on this animation, I want to animate the X and Y position properties on the UV texture of the liquid, not on the light bulb, the liquid. Go. So we go to our timeline. We can say we want to be working seconds, and we can say, well, at 1 second, this is our end point. Set a key, go to the beginning, and change that X and Y position. So I'll change that Y position first, and then I'll change the X. Something like this, set key. There we go. Now it's like filling up. If you want to change that speed, you can reduce the how far that X travels. For example, how many times the X goes across. But yeah, until you're happy with it. I mean, I'm happy with that. Yeah, so that's kind of filling up. So let's add a little bit of wiggle to this. So let's take the main axis, this one, and let's animate this rotation. Like so, it rotates. So take this rotation of the Z and 0 and 0, and set the key in the here, so it kind of shakes one side, so it kind of goes boom, and then goes back to this side, and then yeah, there you go. There you go. Right now it looks very stiff. So what you could do is you could go into your graph here on the animation on that key, and you can play around with the weights, or another way is you can use the oscillator. I like to use the oscillator. I use it a lot. I tend to use it a lot. So the oscillator. You'll find that in the Logic tab under Math Effects. So this oscillator. So if I drag this on the Z, now I get a nice little bounce, and just increase that damping to say like 12. So now if I hit play, it's a nice little bounce. There you go. Now we could even try and see what happens when we put an oscillator on our texture animation. So on the Y and on the X, and increase the damping to 12. Yeah. Yeah. So set that to 12. Play. Boom. And if we reverse it, this is how we'll be turning off. So it'll be on, off. Nice little animation. So let's add a bit more. So let's make this maybe cat little pop open up and down, jump up and down. So the Y position. So again, set key, maybe just about goes there. Oh, I did an extra key there. Just make sure you have the right channel that you want a keyframe selected. Make sure. There we go. And of course, we can add the oscillator on this as well. And set 12 on the damping. I hit play. I've got a nice little animation. And then I can rewind. It's really quick, but yeah. You can stretch this out if you want. If you want to stretch those keyframes out, say 1.5 seconds, and then something like that. I might change this to 60 frames, then I can move this a bit more control. Sorry about that pause. Okay, so the cap is now animated and we've got that little bounce. And we just stretched it out a tiny bit. Right, go back to seconds. Cool. So save a scene. So I'll just save this as bulb. Right. So you have off. Now just add a little bit of some little bit of elements, so like, you know, little spark when you turn it on. Let's scale this down a little so I have more screen space to work around. So the more assets we can add in. Let's add an axis, and this is going to be a bit tricky, but hopefully it'll work. We need a color solid, and we need a rounded rectangle. Right. And what I'm going to do is actually place another axis just in front of that rectangle. So we've got this, and then we have these rectangles. So change the Y. I want to change the alignment to bottom. Okay. So this is one axis, and this axis. So this is that we're going to animate. So this is going to be animating as we click it. It kind of ping. We get this nice little animation here. This will grow. Let's make this more round. So change the round. So now we've got more rounded rectangles. So it's nice and round. And we want to animate this. Okay. But when it gets to this point, we want it to close. So we want it to close from this way and that to go in. So what you need to do is click on this axis we've got here. And we want to change the scaling center. So I'm going to turn my bounding box on wireframe and change the scaling center to that current position up there. Now I don't want to have loads of these, like it'll be quite difficult, so I'm going to put this in its separate animation and then duplicate it, and then we're going to put the animation in here. So we'll combine these two together. So in a new animation, keyframe. You can turn bounding box off now. So as you can see, if we click here, you can see there's a crosshair for the center scaling. So now if I scale on the Y, it will scale from here, which is perfect. What we want. So we want to animate the scaling on the Y, and we want to animate the size on the Y on the rectangle. Okay. So say it takes a second, for example. Say this is an animation for a second. This is the midpoint that we see this. Okay. And then at the start, actually the set keys on all three. Okay. So at the start, it grows from the bottom. So set that to 0. So it grows from the bottom, and then it closes off at the top. So on the Y scale, we change that to 0. So now it goes ding, ding. We could have done that using a texture as well. We could have had a rectangle and animated texture going across. That would have been easier. But yeah, there's so many ways to do it. It's just whatever you think of at the time. To be more efficient, I would say just have a rectangle and then a texture like this, and then you could just animate that texture on the y axis, and it just goes across. Then you have less headache with all these keyframes. I'll probably do. Actually, we should do that right now rather than do it this way. It will save us the trouble later on. So let's delete this axis. We don't need this axis. See, there's so many ways you can build it. We don't even need a rounded rectangle for this. So what we can do is go into Photoshop, create a new texture. Let's do, I don't know, 512 by 512 for now. Get a new layer, pen tool. Okay, there we go. So we want to animate this. Now, if I click on my pen tool here, I can make this a bit more thicker. Something I'm happy with. I think that'll do. That'll do nicely. Okay. Make sure it's white, like so. Okay. I'm just gonna trim this. Control Shift S and G. I'll call this. I'm just gonna call it Spark Line. Okay. Hopefully I don't get interrupted again, but I got interrupted like 5 times. Anyway, axis and rectangle. Drop the rectangle in. So let's load that texture in that we've created. Texture base with alpha. Load that texture in. It's on my desktop and call it Sparkline. And it's really hard to see because it's just a tiny square. But there you go. Let me turn the bounding box off. So I'm going to adjust that scale of the X. That looks about right. And now all we have to do is just animate 2D, change it to UV0. We want to animate on the Y. We don't want this line where it's wrapping or clamping. So turn turn clamp off, but we want it to have a border. So we want a transparent border. There you go. So check transparent border. That's actually much easier now. And now we can animate along there. So as we click it, we want these to kind of draw off. So right now I'll leave it at position 0, and let's position these where we need them. So let's put one here, and then duplicate. Let's put another one here. Actually, cool thing is, before I duplicate, let's change the alignment to bottom. So now what we can do is we can rotate from the bottom, so it makes our life easier. So now I can just duplicate and just kind of position it and then rotate it like that. It makes our life a little bit easier. Yeah, much easier than you know, animating the center axis and the center scale and then the size of the Y, how I was going to do it previously. So you can see there's so many ways of doing it. It's just, you just need to think before, I guess. Of, I mean, sometimes it depends if you've got a deadline and you can't think, and you just kind of do it. It's still good. That's why I like the software. It's like there's so many ways of doing it, and you can go back and optimize it later anyway. There we go. Let's duplicate these again. I'll just shift select all these, duplicate them, move them on to the other side. Over here. Kind of rotate them. Right. Kind of looks messed up, but I don't want to fix it. There we go. Wrong one. Yeah, that one. I might have to put them in the right order as well. Because right now they're not in the right order. Okay. There we go. I could spend all day tweaking these graphics. Okay. So I'll say this is going to be 1. There's 2. This would be 3. This is 2. Okay. And this is, what's this, 6 or 7? How many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7. I'll just put that up here. 4. That down. 6 and 5. 6, 5. There we go. And now they should be all in the right order. So it's going clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I just duplicated 3 and then just moved them across, it kind of messed up. But if you duplicate in the position 1 at a time, you won't run that same issue. Save yourself some time. Anyway, we want to animate the Y positions. So you can number, I would recommend numbering these as well. So 1, oh, I should do it in here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. Cool. And put those in family. We're going to animate those UV coordinates. I'm going to add that to our animation. Cool. So just make this nice and tidy. Let's tidy up our content window. Let's make this a bit smaller so you can, so put these in the group. Put these in the group. Okay. Okay, so we know what we want to animate, and that is the UV map of the Y position. So we know 0 is the middle. So just drop that in, right? Now we've got 1 to thing. So let's say set up key here. So that's our middle. And then let's find that. So -1. Or this is -1.1. So we don't see any texture, and just apply that to all that values to all of them. Okay, set key. So starts, and it turns on, and yeah. And then let's say 1.1. 1.1. Okay. Hopefully this makes sense and I've not lost anybody on the way. Make sure you don't have the extra keys set. Just make sure you don't have anything else selected. I had the wrong thing selected right here, but there you go. So now you can see turns on and you animates on. Now let's make this a bit more interesting. So the reason we numbered them so we can offset them. Yeah, so now we can offset these. Actually, let's make the animation shorter. So let's put these back in. I want to keep it all within the same so let's bring these in. It's going to be really quick, so bring these in. Bring these in. There we go. And then just offset them. So if I said this is where this is ending here. Really up to you, but yeah, just add in a little bit of, you know, something. Doesn't have to be brilliant. What we could do is we'll put these in a group. I'm gonna add a color, solid color to the whole group there, and then you can change that. And then make sure we select all these materials. Where it says no light, just say inherit from above, so then it will inherit this color here. They will inherit this, and then make sure that's set to no light. And then change that. You can use the color picker. Just get that same yellow. Bam. Never play with the animation, but it's a bit quick, but yeah. Cool. But yeah, but you can add more to this. You can play around with the animation. We're just making a random graphic. Let's just make a little circle now. Let's add something going on in the background. So add an axis. So a circle. Okay. Color. Let's give it a solid color. So no light. And then let's go for this dark blue. So we have this. I'm going to duplicate this to say, yep. I don't know what color. I want to clash with this orange and this yellow. So I want this to scale as well, maybe, but push this back as well into. I'm not too sure what color we should go for. Maybe the grey. We'll go for grey, and we have another one. This one is the blue, and then push this back. Let's get that. Do we only need to really animate this grey? Cool. So we can add that to our animation. So let's take the scalar, key, say key. Maybe I'll invert that. Maybe here, this is grey. Okay. Well, let's see. Really, I don't know. It's really up to you what way you wanna, what colors you wanna do. If we did it this way, then the bulb stands out more, but it doesn't make sense that way. Average seconds, say half a second. There you go. We could also try add a spreader to this. Spread. Oh, there we go. Spread. Let's spread this. There. And then maybe do the scale. something like this. Increase the count and change that alpha factor. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. This should make this now interactive. So one way is just to have two states. So I'm going to just do S1 to S2. So we have two states. And then boom. I can remember this correctly. If I put the next there, would that try and see? Might not work. There you go. So we have next. We just have to press next to toggle on and off. And then what we can do is we can say, okay, go to toolbox, interaction, touch button, place it in front. So when you click on the bulb, or actually when you click on anything here anyway, anything in that mesh right now is interactive, even the background. But link that to the animation, take the next, single tap. Now I can click on that. Might make this background darker. Make this background dark. There you go. Cool. Made like a little interactive light bulb that you can click, and you know you can move this around if you want, and so you can put it here. Yeah, just consider the background part here. Play. If we add some bloom to that, let's click on our scene. Let's just add some bloom. Boom. So now we've got some nice bloom going on. Increase that diameter. So again. Boom. Looks nice. Maybe we can do something with the cat, but yeah, you could add some more color into that if you wanted. But yeah. Hopefully that was useful. You got this nice little bulb. I want to say, oh no, touch it there. There you go. We can add some additional graphics. Maybe you want to add some text in here. Text 2D. Block text. And then align center that text. So edit. Right now I'm really liking the plumful text. I'm using it a lot. That's nice to look at. Maybe you can put whatever text you know, it doesn't matter. There you go. And yeah. Well, what we can do is let's try this. Go to logic. Let's just use a multi-switch. Output strings. Okay. And then we want two strings. On. Off. There you go. So this is coming from the switch output A. So right now it's on. We can keyframe that. It's multi-switch now. Okay. Keyframe that index. that to animation. So right now it's on 1, which will be off, and here it's on, off. There you go. So yeah, so you can see you can keep on adding to this. You can do pretty much what you want. Go center. It will help if you center the text as well. Center. Now if you center that, now when it goes off, it will stay centered. That's not, doesn't, there we go. Cool. Simple graphic. Hopefully that's some help. I don't know, just show you how you can make simple graphics and turn them interactive, and you know, you can add data, you can add text, you can add whatever you want. Yeah. Cool. Hit save. Don't forget to save your work. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good to each other. Take it easy. Bye bye.